to the UK, then domestic issues and the issue of so-called extremism, Charles.
Yes, this has been a recurring theme throughout the year, but in January and March of this year, we reported on the case of Sam Melia, associated with the Patriotic Alternative, who was imprisoned for a couple of offences, which we'll go into in a minute. But here we see it being reported on the Patriotic Alternative website that he has now been prevented from seeing or having any contact or any communication with or about his children. Now, I spoke to his wife, Laura Towler, earlier this week, and I'm just going to play a short clip of her explaining what has happened.
In Hull, for the first week, everything was fine. We had a visit with the kids, speaking to him on the phone, no problems at all. And then all of a sudden, letters and emails started getting rejected and sent back to us, saying child protection issues. And to cut a long story short, because it's been this big kerfuffle over the last couple of weeks, basically they've classified Sam as a PPRC, which is a person posing risk to children. And when I asked them to clarify why Sam had been classified as a PPRC, they said, and I quote, "racist literature, insignia and books, and racist and offensive attitudes." So that's why he's a risk to children, apparently. So they've stopped contact with his children. Not only that, but he's not allowed any photographs of his children, and I'm not even allowed to mention his children to him on the phone. If I do that, they can ban me as a contact. So I can kind of understand the contact thing. Completely disagree with it. He's not a risk to his kids. His daughter's 1 month old and 2 years old. He can't brainwash them into racism or whatever. But I can kind of understand the contact thing, even though it's wrong. But I don't understand why he's not allowed photographs of them, or why I'm not allowed to mention them to him, because how is he going to brainwash a child down a photograph?
Laura ends with a very, very good question. Now, I've been in touch with HMP Hull to ask more about this, and they say that they may be able to reply within 20 days. So we'll just have a quick look at what Laura had posted on Telegram, specifically just to reinforce what she's talking about, and particularly the use of the very confusing language about, first of all, posing a risk of serious harm to children, but also saying that it does not state that he does pose a direct risk of serious harm to children. But as she says, through the children being exposed to posters, insignia, literature and attitudes. Now, is this ineptitude or malice? Bearing in mind that the offences were publishing with intent to stir up racial hatred, even though it was never proven that any was stirred up, or indeed that the intent really was there, and encouraging the racially aggravated criminal damage of sticking stickers. So just to look further into where this sort of action comes from the prison service, the Public Protection Manual has a section on PPRC, person posing risk to children. And bearing in mind he'd already spent 3 months in Leeds, is it really appropriate? Potential PPRCs must be identified quickly and risk assessed to establish if there is a continuing risk to children. So it looks very much like the prisoner not fulfilling these criteria, but specifically on the photograph side of it, just to give an indication of whether or not this is proportionate. PPRCs or potential PPRCs presenting a sexual risk to children must have access to their personal photographs as children considered using the principles in this chapter. So this is the sort of threshold that's being dealt with. And last week I spoke about the Walney report and specifically the targeting, or at least the identification of lone actors. And it looks like not only is Sam Melia being used as an example in terms of his imprisonment, his conviction, but also now his status as a prisoner for these particular offences, which of course are associated with nationalism, which the CPS was very keen to suggest was criminal, that he might be cast as one such lone actor. But we'll just look also at the European Convention on Human Rights, because although it might seem a bit extreme, the Article 3, of course, refers to prohibition of torture. No one shall be subjected to torture or to inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. And that should really be considered, but specifically, really, Article 8, where everyone has the right to respect for his private and family life, his home and his correspondence. And it continues that there shall be no interference by a public authority with the exercise of this right, except in the interests of national security, public safety, or the economic well-being of the country. for the prevention of disorder or crime, or for the prevention of protection of health or morals. So it's a great stretch to see how the prison service could justify these measures. A challenge has been made, and hopefully something will come of it. Now, if you're outraged by this, not specifically necessarily sympathising with the beliefs or the ideologies of Sam Melia, but indeed recognising that he is a political prisoner and has fallen foul of the most corrupt system, there is a petition at change.org. The link will be in the show notes, which only has around 3,000 signatures at the minute. So that's something that really should see a significant uplift. And the other thing I should point out is that on the Patriotic Alternative website, if you go to the news section, you can see how to either register a complaint with HMP Hull or to get in touch with Sam. And I should just point out it's his birthday on Sunday, the 9th of June, and he would very much appreciate written correspondence.